It's another Cavs Weekly podcast. I know, boring name, but it is what it is. It's another Cavs Weekly podcast on waitingfornextyear.com, brought to you by the Evergreen Podcast Network. I'm your host, Josh Floha, with Seth the Wanamaker once again. We are back talking Cavs, talking NBA All-Star Weekend, talking buyouts, and just anything and everything wine and gold. Seth, how are you doing, for one? And two, what's you got to say for yourself?
Josh, man, doing good. I'm currently traveling, so I'm in a Marriott hotel. If anyone can see behind me, this is not my hometown bed. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, right now. But I am coming back to Cleveland this weekend, so we have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, we're going to talk a lot of All-Star. We were talking earlier. I'm going to try to sneak to one event if I can this weekend downtown. I'm doing great. Last couple Cavs games, I know we're going to get into it. It's kind of a rough way to go into the break, but as we were talking about earlier, they have a very important pivotal stretch of games here coming back. So very excited for the All-Star break. Let the boys shine a little bit, but then right back to it. I'm in season mode. Let's go.
So let's start off with the bad and then go to the good. The bad. The last three games this past week. Pacers game, it was yet another huge comeback. I think 21 points they were down and come back because of Darius Garland was out. Karis LeVert had his chance to shine, and he took advantage of it in the fourth quarter. He led the Cavs back to a win over the Pacers with their new look Indiana team in Indiana. And then you have the 76ers. Joel Embiid did what he does best. He's the NBA's leading scorer for a reason, and he's probably the favorite to win MVP, I'd say, too. And whether it was scoring, whether it was passing, whether it was rebounding, it seemed like he did anything and everything he wanted to. And then Atlanta last night. It was one of those things where like the Cavs were 1 point. I know me and you talk about this. The Cavs were 1 point favorites. They opened as 1 point favorites. They closed as I think 2 point underdogs or somewhere around there. So it was like one of those Vegas knows types of games. And as usual, Vegas knew because Trae Young dominated. The Cavs were very lackluster early on. And I mean, you can talk more about the games, but one thing is very clear recently is that while us fans hate that the Cavs are off for a solid like 5-6 days coming up, the Cavs need this All-Star break more than anyone.
Yep, they really do. You can just tell, and some of it's tired legs. Mobley has definitely looked a bit more hesitant, a little bit more tired on the offensive end. Defense, he's still showing flashes. He's just that good. But, yeah, offensively, the team just doesn't have that spacing. With Laurie being out, we saw a lineup last night against the Hawks of it was Garland, Okoro, LeVert, Mobley, Allen. So, out of those five, the only guy that's a true threat to shoot the three is really Garland. He's the guy that really should be setting up the offense and dishing out to, the 3-point shooters. So, yeah, offense has been a struggle. It's hard to tell exactly how much is legs, how much is tired versus just personnel right now, right? They've had so many critical losses this year. With Rubio going down, we've talked about their net rating numbers have really taken a nosedive after he went down. Laurie and Sexton being out, it's going to take some time for LeVert to get into the swing of things. Definitely not in panic mode. There's so much to be excited about, happy about this year. It's just been a rough couple games, and something I know we're going to talk about in a minute, but have to address since we're kind of doing a quick recap of the past couple games here is the slow starts. The Pacer game, they were outscored 47-28 in the first quarter, gave up 47 points in the first against a Pacer team who's not very good. And then against the 76ers, they started down 36-23. So, getting beat by 13 points in the first quarter, and they just couldn't, I think they came back to tie the game, but they just couldn't get over the hump. So, yeah, frustrating last couple of days, but all in all, again, as we talked about earlier on in the podcast, so much to be excited about this year, All-Star weekend. So I think this was the bad. We can fast forward right to the good stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. They were such a hot team in the first quarter, especially on the road. But like you said, I mean, one, I think it's tired legs. I mean, this team, with dealing with injuries and stuff, a big burden has been placed on like the top 6-ish guys, especially a guy like Darius Garland when he's playing, or I mean, even Evan Mobley's racking up minutes. And it's clear Evan Mobley has been a godsend to this Cavs team, but his rookie wall he's kind of hit it. You can tell that he's not used to playing this many games this often. And I mean, it happens. I mean, we're all human. So he went from playing like 30 games in like a 5-month college season to already playing like fifth. They're up to like 50 or so games right now. So I mean, it happens. But hopefully, this 5-6 game stretch of days off will help a guy like Evan Mobley. And then, I mean, Kevin Love, he played really well last night, and you can tell that he's a veteran. He knows like the type of grinded out day-to-day things that you need. So just one of those things where, I mean, the Cavs, we all know that it's a very young team. So they're gonna have to learn on the run, I guess you'd say. And then hopefully a guy like Lowry marketing can come back and not only be a floor spacer for guys like Darius Garland and Karis LeVert, but also just ease the burden off of Evan Mobley down low and Jared Allen. And just, I mean, this Cavs team will never be 100% because it's impossible with Ricky Rubio and Colin Sexton both out. But if once Lowry comes back, they'll be as 100% as they can possibly get, basically. And I think his addition, even if he's only getting like 15 points a night, his addition will be huge, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and they're just they're having a tough go of it right now. Just with Dean Wade's been excellent defensively this year. He's honestly been one of their better defenders. You wouldn't expect, but when you have him getting switched on to Trae Young over and over and over again, that's all the Hawks did. And the first half, they were just trying to find Dean any way they could. It's just a tough matchup. I mean, Dean's 6'10", and you got 6'1" Trae Young who gets every call. It's tough. That was my personal gripe there. I think Trae shot about 15 free throws last night, so that was tough to watch.
Like James Harden light. I mean, I don't mind Trae Young, but yeah, he shouldn't be getting. I mean, we don't really have to get into this too much, but yeah, he should not be getting some of the calls that he does. He's an up and coming point guard, but he's not like a superstar yet. Although I don't know. I guess he kind of is. I don't know, but either way, he's still like a young up and coming point guard. He should not be getting, one, the calls that he gets, and two, the flopping that it's just like, come on, just play the game of basketball and just let things happen the way they happen.
Yeah, we were talking about in the Discord. I can't wait till Darius gets those calls, and I'm sure as Hawks fans, you don't really care how you get it. So yeah, I'm kind of fibbing right now, saying I'm a little jealous. I can't wait till Darius gets those calls. I mean, he's an all-star. It's time. Let's get those calls going.
Speaking of, oh no, go on.
I was just gonna say, no more of the bad, right? Like, this is such a great season. Just wanted to hit on a couple of dud games, but like you said, they're so young. We have a big stretch coming up. So, great vibes going into All-Star weekend. I can't wait to see the city of Cleveland coming up on the TV. Can't wait to see how many Cavaliers we have this weekend that's going to be showcased. And it's transitioning to the good part of the pod.
And speaking of Darius Garland, one, he's an all-star. We already discussed that multiple times. You guys already know that. He's on Team LeBron, like we said last week. But Jared Allen is now he's now an all-star. He should have been named an all-star reserve 2 weeks ago when they were announced, or last week, 2 weeks ago when they were announced. Last week was the draft. He finally got a spot with James Harden sitting out the game due to his lingering hamstring injury. So the Cavs have 2 all-stars. They have 2 guys in the Rising Stars. I mean, one, it's awesome that the Cavs or the All-Star weekend is in Cleveland this year, but it's also great to see that 4 players will be representing the Cavs as well.
Yeah, deservedly so for Jared, shooting 66% from the field, which is ridiculous. And he's not just a straight rim runner, right? I mean, he'll take like a little 18-footer at times and space a little bit. So yeah, he's averaging 16.2 per game this year, 66%, which is ridiculous. 11 boards, almost a block and a half. I mean, he's been a monster. And I'm looking at his stats the past few games. After he was snubbed for the All-Star, he had 4 consecutive games, rebounding numbers, 22, 17, 14, 14. Absolute monster, deservedly so. And yeah, very, very excited to see him in there. And I mean, we're going to get like 4 Darius to Allen lobs, right?
Considering there's 0. If there's like a negative defensive stat, it would be that in the All-Star game. So yeah, they'll get as many lobs as they want up until like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter because there's 0 defense to be played. I mean, each team, it's going to be like first to like 170 wins. So I hope Darius Garland and Jared Allen can at least get like 30 or so of those points. Although with Team LeBron, maybe LeBron's going to be pushing for, because he's obviously part of Clutch Sports. Darius Garland's part of Clutch. Maybe LeBron's going to push for the hometown kid to get MVP. So that would be, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but Darius Garland coming home with All-Star MVP in his first All-Star game, I am all for that one.
Oh, that would be so incredible. And, I feel like I'm biased, so I shouldn't even go much further. But yeah, just the hometown kid doing it, his first All-Star game. He kind of, showed up at the elite team and challenging the Olympic guys. And it would just be sweet to have him win MVP. And I was listening to the Chase down there talking about, is it possible that Darius could be in like the closing lineup for the All-Star game? I'm like, if he's in the closing lineup, he's got a shot. I don't know if he's going to make it in there or not, but that could be special.
Without looking at rosters, I guess I can pull up the rosters right now. I don't know I guess LeBron is technically Team LeBron's point guard, but I don't know what point guards they have. I mean, they obviously don't have James Harden anymore. So maybe Darius Garland is the final. I don't know. Maybe he is the closing lineups point guard with like I said, I'd have to look up the rosters, but it's obviously going to be LeBron. I think Giannis is on LeBron's team, so it's going to be LeBron, Giannis. I don't know. But I hope Darius Garland, it's going to be tough for a guy like Jared Allen to show out, because even when there's no defense being played, they're still not going to allow you, a big man, to get like an easy dunk per se, because there's going to be a lot of 3-point shooting. But I hope Jared Allen somehow gets like 15 rebounds. Then again, there's not going to be that many missed shots either, because there's no defense being played. So I don't know. I hope one of them shows out. Darius Garland probably has a lot better shot to do so.
Yeah, and the way Allen plays, I mean, he's fearless. Like he does not care about getting put on a poster. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Allen try to contest some of these guys. I know it's All-Star game, but I mean, he's so fearless out there that I could see him trying to swat someone. He may get put on a poster, but he's shown that he's okay. Having that happen occasionally.
I just look at Team LeBron's roster. Starting point guard Trae Young. So speaking of Trae, hopefully Darius Garland gets the final closing minutes over Trae. How about that?
Yeah, we can't have that. Not after he just beat us on Tuesday night. Can't have that. And speaking of, the All-Star weekend, you and I were talking and going through, what segments are going on and all the Cavalier participation this weekend. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of cruise through, the different activities, and we could talk through what our expectations are, again, because we have some of the Cavaliers involved in the activities here. So the skills challenge, which is skills on Friday night, I believe, or is that all on Saturday?
Saturday. That's all.
Saturday.
Friday night is the Rising Stars game I guess it's games now, because it's 4 teams. Rising Stars at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and the Celebrity game at the Wolfstein Center.
Got it. Okay, so Saturday night, I guess, is kind of where we'll pick up, and the skills challenge. So there's 3 teams, and this is completely different than what they've ever done before. Typically, it's always individual players doing the pass through the target, the layup, the 3-point shot. I love the skills. I think it's so cool, and I love when the big guys get a chance to do their thing. I think it's fun to see a 6'2" point guard against like a 6'10" Jokic in there, something like that. But there's the Team Cavaliers, who it's Darius Garland, it's Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. And then you've got the 3 Antetokounmpo brothers. So I believe it's 2 from the Bucks, and then their other brother, who I'm going to butcher his name, but he's on the Clippers, I believe.
He was on the Lakers. I haven't kept track of that family besides Giannis. So he might be on the Clippers now, but he was on the Lakers when they won it all.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I forgot they had their little trophy party. So, and then the last team is Team Rookie. So you got Cade Cunningham from the Pistons, you got Josh Giddey from Oklahoma City, and then you've got Scotty Barnes from Toronto. So, good competition. I think it'll be really fun. I love that Cavaliers get 3 players in the mix there. Do you have any favorites you're thinking about? Anyone, if you had to bet, who you think is going to take the victory home on the skill?
I'll let you go first, because I think I already know your answer. So that will lead me to my answer.
Love it. I hate to do it. I just don't want to be too cliche. I think the Team Rookie is stacked. I mean, if you think about what Cade, Josh, and Scotty can all do, they're all kind of freaks. They can all pass well. They're all fast and physical. I think if anything, they may have the advantage in terms of just pure speed, and they can all pass. So, yeah, if I had to pick, unfortunately, I would have to go Team Rookie.
Team Rookie is, I mean, I haven't looked at odds or anything. I don't know if there are odds for the skills competition. I'm assuming there is because there's literally odds for everything and anything. Team Rookie will definitely be the favorite, but I'll be that cliche guy and be the homer. I'll go Team Cavs. Although I don't really know how Jared Allen can do in a skills competition, but hey, I'm all for Team Afro. Wait, who? It's Darius, Jared Allen, and who?
Mobley. Yeah.
I'll go Team Cavs. I'd go Team Rookie if you didn't go Team Rookie, but I'll go Cavs on that one because gotta go with the wine and gold in Cleveland.
Yep, and you could argue that Garland's the most superior, skill guy in the entire group of 9. I would say, obviously, Giannis is the best player, but if you're talking pure skill, Darius is probably number 1 in that entire group. Love it. And if we transition to the 3-point, which is my personal favorite, I absolutely love 3-point when the guys get hot, make 6 in a row, crowd's going crazy. So I'll roll through the list of guys participating here. Fred VanVleet, obviously with Toronto. We've got Desmond Bain, Memphis, Luke Kennard, the Clippers, Zach LaVine with Chicago. You got hometown 3-3-0 boy CJ McCollum, now with the Pelicans, which sounds weird. Karl Anthony Towns with Minnesota, and Trae Young with Atlanta. We can stick with our little rotation here, Josh. If you want me to, I can go ahead and pick out my projected winner.
You can go, even though it probably won't affect my winner because I'm going to be a homer again. But you go first.
Will do. So I've got a basketball man crush on this guy. There's a lot of players that I like in this group.
Trae Young? Wow. Holy cow.
Not Trae Young. No. I was actually hoping someone would put him on his ass the other night, but that's neither here nor there. So Desmond Bain from the Grizzlies, who he absolutely torched the Cavaliers earlier this year in a really frustrating game the Cavaliers kind of gave away in the last second. Brandon Goodwin with a wretched turnover. Love Goodwin, but it was a tough one. But Desmond Bain, he's shooting 42% from 3 for his career. I think as a rookie, he shot 43. This year, he's around 41.5. He was the number 30 overall pick. So he wasn't one of these like top 6 guys, lottery guys. But when I watched Bain play, he's physical, he can rebound for a guard, but he's always in control. And I love the shooting stroke. Fortunately, I did get to see Mobley like rip the ball out of his hand when he tried to shoot it. Mobley just ripped it out of the air, blocked him in midair. But yeah, I love Bain's the way he shoots, his style. I think he'd be a great pick, and he seems like he's got kind of that ice water in his veins. I don't think the moment will be too big for him. How about yourself?
I love the Memphis Grizzlies, and I can say that because they're a Western Conference team, so the only way the Cavs can meet them in the playoffs is the finals. And 1, that would be the most perfect finals ever. Grizzlies, Cavs, 2 young up-and-coming teams. But 2, and the Cavs have been struggling. I know this is way off topic. The Cavs have been struggling in the first quarter. Memphis is averaging like 37 points in their first quarter the last like 6 games and beating teams by like 12 to 15 points after every first quarter. So like Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant. I mean, that team, if I had a second favorite team in the NBA, that would by far be the Memphis Grizzlies. But back to on topic. You picked Desmond Bain. Great pick. I feel like Trae Young is going to do really well with this because he just shoots. He has unlimited range, but I cannot go with Trae Young. Luke Kennard, he's finally back. He's from, I think he played somewhere. I'm trying to think. He's from Ohio. He played somewhere near Finley. No, that's John Diebler. He's somewhere in Ohio before he went to Duke. So, but I'm not going to go with that Ohio kid. I'm going to go with a guy I played against in high school multiple times. CJ McCollum. Canton Glen Oak native, back in Northeast Ohio. Hopefully going to show out with a bunch of family in town. Got to go with the hometown kid. So, yes, I'm being a homer once again, and I'll go with CJ.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I was hoping that, if there was any shot the Cavaliers getting him at the deadline, it would have been so sweet to bring him home. He always reps the Browns. He's awesome.
He is like, I know we as fans, we love saying like the gets us meter. He is like, if he were on the Cavs, he'd be a 10 out of 10 for gets us. He's like always repping the Browns, always wearing Brown jerseys at Browns games. And the fact that he's just a Northeast Ohio kid. But yeah, his contract just made it nearly impossible for the Cavs to get him. But yeah, now that he's back home for, even if it's a weekend, I'll rep CJ for the weekend.
Yeah, if you check out his Instagram on a Browns game, he's barking, he's waving, he's waving something brown and orange. He's awesome. He's awesome. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I mean, the crowd's going to go crazy for him. I think, yeah, outside of no, he's going to get the best crowd reaction as I look at the list right now. People are going to go nuts for him. I think you have a really good shot at that one. And one interesting thing too, I haven't heard that Levine's been pulled out, but I saw that he was going to see a specialist ahead of the All-Star game. He's
You're
supposed to still
right.
play, but I guess we'll see.
I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't know. I guess how many shooters they have. If they, it's not like they're gonna like have a guy fill in for him. They'll have plenty. And I mean, this is off topic too, but I don't know his stats from 3-point lane, but Karl Anthony Towns being in the 3-point contest just seems super weird. It's not too often that you see a center in it, like a true center. But I don't know. Maybe he'll just surprise everyone, including me, and win. But I just don't see how Cat's gonna go to the finals, let alone come close to winning.
Yeah, if you were going to have a big guy in here, it would have been nice to see Kevin Love, but maybe he wanted to get away for the weekend and just chill and relax, drink some vino.
Yeah. We discussed that in the Discord. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Love got an invite and he's just like, nah, I'd rather go out to Cali for 5 days and just get away for a little bit. I mean, do you blame him? Honestly, it would be nice to have Cav in this, but I don't blame him if that was the case.
Yeah, he can use him. He's carrying the team, the second unit right now, so he could use a few nights off. All right, so then we move to the last event on Saturday night, which would be the dunk competition, which I would argue, I'm not sure if it should be the last event. It might be my least favorite at this point of the three we just discussed. But if we look at who's participating in the dunk competition, you've got Cole Anthony from Orlando, little guy who I was very surprised, to be honest, about his entry into it. He doesn't do a lot of in-game dunks, but I have seen some of his highlights. He can get up for sure. And then you've got the number 2 overall pick, Jalen Green, who was selected just ahead of Evan Mobley. Houston.
Thanks, Houston. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Then third, you've got Obi Toppin from New York Knicks, high flyer, who Dayton kid, right? I believe. Yeah. And then last but not least, you've got Juan Toscano Anderson, Golden State. Doesn't play a whole lot. Again, had to look up his minutes. I was telling Josh before. Doesn't play a heck of a lot, but he can also get up. And he's probably the second biggest guy. I think he's like a 6'6", 6'7" guy. So there's some good variance in terms of size, right? You've got guys from like 6'2" all the way up to about 6'8", 6'9" with Obi. So I kind of like when you have different size guys in there. And then, Josh, how about I kick it over to you first on this one for your winner, if you don't mind.
Man, I'm so cliche and so homer. For the third straight time, I'm going to go with the guy that is affiliated with Ohio in some sort of way. Obi Toppin. Dayton. I know he's kind of been a bust a little bit because he was a top 10 pick. He was a top 10 pick. And he's been a role player for New York, but he hasn't really been like a spectacular player for the Knicks. But he's like 6'9", 6'10", has his athletic, or he's very athletic. He can jump out of the gym. And yeah, I'm just gonna go with a guy that's affiliated with Ohio because I'm just that kind of guy, I guess, and go with Obi.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction he gets because there were a lot of rumors that he was a potential landing spot for Cleveland. Luckily now that like you said, he hasn't exactly lit it up. He's interesting in the second unit. Like he does some, he can rebound a little bit. Obviously, he can catch lobs and dunk, but definitely not a complete player. So if I had to pick, and I just saw this guy play the other night with Jalen Green. He's small in stature, but man, he's explosive. He can get up, slam it. Like I said, number 2 overall pick. He's not having an amazing year, but he's so young and raw and kind of slight. I think as he grows into his body, he might be something special. But I think he's going to try to really show out and put on a good show Saturday night. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jalen Green of the Rockets.
All right. So for those of you keeping track at home, slam dunk, I went Obi Toppin. 3-point, I went. Man, I'm such a freaking cliche homer. CJ McCollum, skills competition, team Cavs, and Seth went skills competition, team rookie, which I think they should win that handily. 3-point competition, you went with Desmond Bain, and then slam dunk, you went Jalen Green. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. I mean, Jalen Green, it's just a slam dunk competition, but I wonder if he's a show out just because he's a rookie. He wants to like be a rookie that wins a slam dunk. And secondly, I might go off on a tangent here, but it is what it is. I remember we talked about this part of the podcast. I remember back in the day when like the slam dunk competition was like must see TV. It had like 8 dunk guys, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Vince Carters, and now it's like freaking Cole Anthony, Obi Toppin, the guy from Golden State who I literally don't even know, and then Jalen Green. I mean, they probably don't even average 48 minutes total as a group, although they probably do come close. But it used to, the point I'm trying to make is that it used to be like star players, guys that everyone just wanted to see dunk. Now it's just like you said, it's probably of the 3 events Saturday night, it's probably the last one that I want to watch. And it's going to be the prime time event because it's going to be the last one. I'd much rather watch the skills competition and 3-point competition this year. There's no doubt. Not even close.
Yeah, there's so much more entertaining. So the entire All-Star weekend, it had me reminiscing about, like you said, All-Star games past and how much fun they used to be when they used to all wear their own jerseys. So you'd have the East team with old school Raptors. I know we talked about this, I think week 1 of this pod, but you'd see all these beautiful, sweet jerseys that the guys were rocking. It was a kind of a shit show. You couldn't tell like who's playing on which team. It's just kind of chaos jersey wise, but it was so much fun. And it took me back to my first kind of memorable moment at watching the All-Star game was 2000. And I had to go back and look up, and the names in the slam dunk competition are just incredible if you're a Cavaliers fan. So the 2000 dunk competition, Vince Carter famously, I mean, just did everything. Probably the best performance in the slam dunk competition when it was elite at the time. But the contestants in it were obviously Vince Carter, Cleveland Cavalier legend Ricky Davis, who I think had a poor performance.
Ricky Davis is in a slam dunk. Wow, I had no idea. If you would have told me one Cavs back then, I would have said it was Darius Miles.
Yep. Number 3 after Ricky Davis, Stevie Franchise, Houston Rocket, little guy, but he could get up. And then another familiar name, Larry Hughes. So I completely forgot he was in the dunk competition too.
Wait, what? Ricky Davis and Larry Hughes were in the dunk competition, let alone the same one. I literally, if you would have said like, tell me like 10 Chads that have been in the dunk competition, those two would have never even crossed. Especially Larry Hughes. I remember him being like a defensive first 2 guard, not a dunk. And I guess that's what we're going to be saying about this 2022 class too. But yeah, from Vince Carter to Larry Hughes. What a freaking contrast.
Right. I always remember him as just like a pure slasher on the Wizards, but not getting up much. So yeah, I was surprised to go back and watch him. And then to round it out, Tracy McGrady, who elite. I mean, he's a superstar in 2000. And then Jerry Stackhouse. So Jerry Stackhouse, Tracy McGrady, Steve Francis, Vince Carter. All those guys are like top 20, 25 guys in the league at that time. I mean, that's a sweet class to watch. And then, Vince Carter, what he did, the 360 dunk, reverse 360 dunk, the windmill, the dunk right in front of the free throw line. I mean, when I went back and thought about, memorable All-Star game moments, that was spectacular. When the dunk competition was, still attended by the best of the best and absolute show. Do you have anything that pops out, like your first game or any memorable moments as you look back and say, wow, that was All-Star game was sweet back when?
I just remember all those slam dunk competitions with Vince Sanity. I mean, Vince Carter, like I said, that was must-watch TV. Now the slam dunk competition's like, do I still have to have the TV on to watch this? I don't know. I hope Obi and Cole Anthony and Jalen Green show out, but it's just like there's no big names. I mean, like you said, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Larry Hughes, Jerry Stackhouse. That's like 2 of the top 25 players in the league back then. Now you have like Cole Anthony is like a top 175 player in the league. I just feel like the name recognition is just like, I don't know. I don't know what the NBA can do to change it. I don't know why stars aren't in it anymore. It's not like there's been like a major injury that like ended the season in the slam dunk. I don't know. Maybe offer an incentive to. I mean, LeBron James is it's weird to say, but LeBron James is probably too old. He wouldn't, if he hasn't done it yet, he's not going to do it now. And he's in a no-win situation because if he wins it, it's expected. If he doesn't win it, well, LeBron, why didn't you win it? But I don't know. Just get some bigger names in the slam dunk competition. Is all. I don't know how you can incentivize it to do so, but it's just Cole Anthony and this group is just not. It's not doing it for me. Put it that way.
Even not that long ago. I mean, if you look back like 7-8 years ago, we still had Dwight Howard in, and
I was just gonna bring up. I was like Dwight Howard because didn't he like blow out a candle on top of the rim?
Yes, he did.
Crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean Dwight Howard. Yeah, I don't know. Dwight, I would love to. I wish they'd do like an old guy slam dunk competition. For some reason I'm thinking of Mario Stoudemire too, but I don't really think he ever did. He do slam dunk competition?
Yeah, I think he was in one or two.
And who jumped over a car? Well, no, Blake Griffin. So yeah, we don't have any Blake Griffins or Dwight Howards. I don't know. Yeah. It's just like I feel like I'm not going to miss much. I don't know. I miss the old slam dunk. Like you said, Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. I will gladly take one of those guys in this one. Now, obviously in their prime, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, those guys are averaging 25 a game in 2000, which is like now 29. You know, they were absolutely filling it up, and yeah, even like Zach LaVine a couple of years ago, and Aaron Gordon 6-7 years. Yeah, it feels like it's kind of fallen off a cliff. And you're right, they got to do something because it has such potential. If there were like 2 or 3 premier guys battling it out, I mean, I would be glued. That would be probably my favorite competition of the night at that point. But they got to do something. I don't know why the guys don't want to participate, but
yeah, like I said, I don't know what changed. It's not like there's been like a season-ending injury or I don't know. I guess it's something that Adam Silver has to figure out if he sees that the ratings drop a lot with Saturday night. I wish it would go like an hourly rating to see like which fans like watch the first 2 skills and 3-point and then just turn off the channel after 3-point competition for the slam dunk. But yeah, I guess it is what it is though, because Adam Silver clearly knows what he's doing. So if he's fine with including 4 guys like this and not like a superstar, like I said, it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah. And I think so. Josh, anything else you want to hit on All-Star before we head over to some questions?
Just I know we talked a lot about Saturday night. Sunday, obviously, we talked to Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and then Friday night you have they're doing it differently with the Rising Stars. It's now 4 teams. It's a 4-team mini tournament. I know Isaac Okoro and Evan Mobley are on the same team, and then you have like a bunch of other first and second year guys. And then you have four players from G League Ignite who were paid to go to the G League instead of going to college for a year. So they haven't even been drafted yet, but they're going to be participating in this as well. And yeah, it's like the 2 winners of the 2 games play each other for the championship. And I think the first games are to 50, and then the second games or the championship per se is to 25, which is weird. 25 seems so low. But then again, because I might be going, so I looked at the start time. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was like, wow, that is such a late start. So I guess that's why it's 50, 50, 25. But yeah, just you'll have Isaac Okoro and Evan Mobley hopefully dominating in that. And hopefully that'll just continue what's supposed to be a very exciting and fun weekend in Cleveland. Well, hopefully that will be the start of it. I mean, and that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a weekend, and I can't wait. I just love. I know I've talked about it before. I just love when Cleveland's featured, whether it's a Thursday night Browns game or, a Cavaliers game when they were going to the finals every year. It's so much fun to see just shots around the city. Get the Cleveland sign moving. You can hear about the Rock Hall for the 1,000th time because that's the only thing they bring up when they talk Cleveland. There's so much to talk about here, but that's neither here nor there. Whatever.
I can't wait. If we were to take a shot every time either the Rock Hall got brought up or I don't know what's another thing, the snow, because there's still snow on the ground and it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow and then freeze on Friday. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of talk about rain or snow and ice.
Yeah,
just like. Cleveland gets hated on enough. Just when we go national, just have these national guys at least talk positive things about this damn city.
Do a little research. We got like a top 5 museum of art in the entire world. We've got some of the best plays. I think number 2 behind New York City in terms of
Hey,
plays.
speaking of research, did you hear that the Browns fired Bill Belichick like 26 years ago? Speaking of doing research, just
Damn
do
it.
your research, people. Like I said, Cleveland gets hit on enough. Now we don't need these like fake facts that aren't true whatsoever to be national. Please.
Yeah, people believe it. If you put it out there, they're going to believe it.
Exactly. Like if I saw that graphic and I wasn't a Cleveland fan, I'd be like, wow, the Browns are so dumb. I'm not going to look and make sure that it's factual. I'm just going to assume that it's not ball sack. It's not ball sack sports doing the graphics, so it's clearly true, right? And man, I didn't think I'd ever bring that name up on this podcast, but that's just like a parody. It's a parody Twitter account that just makes fake graphics. And then we have, I think it was NFL on Fox was the one that tweeted that out. I was like, how many guys did this go through? It had to be someone that thought of it, the graphic designer that did the graphic. Like, someone do your research, please. But back to the Cavs and NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, just to be clear, Baltimore Ravens fired Bill, but okay, yeah, we're moving on. So, Cavs All-Star Weekend, we can't wait. I know Josh, you're probably going to hit up an event or two. I'm going to try to get up there. I can't wait. It's just going to be fun to see downtown just kind of lit up, like with hopefully people feel comfortable coming back out. It feels good with COVID going down, so hopefully everyone has a heck of a time and can enjoy themselves up here. But we've got a slate of mailbag questions. So we reached out. We tried to get a couple here, and I think we've got 4 lined up for tonight. So I think we're going to try to do some rapid fire here, Josh, if you're ready to go.
Just a spoiler, Seth got all these mailbag questions. I got 0 because I forgot about it. All right, continue.
So we got to start off with Nate. I really like Nate's question. He's going big picture, so but I love it. I think that's the fun about this team is we're tactical. We're in the weeds for this year. We want some playoffs, but there's so much possibility with this team. We got to keep thinking long picture too. So we'll start off with Nate's question. So with the success of Darius Garland and the move to go acquire Karis LeVert from the Pacers, what do the Cavaliers do with Sexton this offseason? Does he play a game for the Cavs next season?
That's seriously such a good question. I know it's been talked about a lot because it's almost like Karis LeVert is a taller version of Colin Sexton. They both score. They're both like, yes, they both pass the ball, but they're mainly guys that just like when they have the ball in their hands, they're going to find a way to get a bucket or try to get a bucket. I see Colin Sexton's such an interesting thing because like he's been out for most of the season. It seems that he loves this Cavs team and he loves being around these guys. Maybe he'll take like a quote unquote hometown discount. I would if he were to accept like a 3 or 4 year deal worth like 12 to 15 a year, I'll gladly take him back. He won't be a starting guy, but you can never have too many scores off the bench. So I would I'm envisioning like a second unit led by, although Karis LeVert and Colin Sexton, that would be now that I say that, I don't know about that either. I don't know. I feel Karis LeVert is a good insurance because he will be around next year, and then he'll be a free agent after next season. If they don't bring back Colin Sexton, it is what it is. If they do, then hopefully JB Bickerstaff finds a way to make it work like he has this season with all the he found a way to make Kevin Love not only not want to buy out, but just love this team. So I feel like we've discussed the last 2 podcasts that since we started doing this, it's weird to say that I have full faith in JB and Kobe, but if they make a decision, I'm going to stick with it and hope and not even hope that it's right. I'll have faith that it will be right because just those 2 guys seem to know what they're doing. So yeah, but if I'd say it's like 50-50 that Colin Sexton's back with the Cavs. Just because, and he's a restricted free agent. So another team can come and offer him whatever they want, but the Cavs can match that. I just don't think the Cavs will match anything more than like 4 years and $60 million.
Yeah, I think that number you just threw out, 4 for 60, feels pretty good. If I had to put a number on it, I would say that both Colin and LeVert are likely back. I think there's a higher likelihood that Colin is the long-term bench scoring guy than LeVert. I think, try to get Sexton on a somewhat of a team friendly contract this offseason. Then you have LeVert playing into his last year, and he could potentially be an asset, someone that you could get something for, or, I think he makes a pretty good sum of money, somewhere around 15 to 17 a year. So he could be a pretty good asset to potentially trade away. And I mean, when you look at, so we need to see a lot more LeVert. It's not fair to judge LeVert based on the few games he's played. But when you compare LeVert to Sexton, the efficiency that Sexton has can't really be touched by many guys in the league. I mean, he's a 6-foot guard that shoots like 46, 47% from the field and 38% from three. I mean, his efficiency is real. And the fact that Darius has stepped up so much and become the clear distributor and leader for the team, I think that lets Sexton just go and lead that second unit and score. So, yeah, if you ask me, is Colin going to play a game for the Cavaliers next season? I say yes, and I think it's more likely that Colin is that permanent 6-guy role over LeVert.
See, it's one of those things, too, where LeVert might give the Cavs a legitimate hometown discount because he's a Columbus, Ohio native. He was once committed, like we said last week, he was once committed to Ohio University before going to Michigan. And I mean, maybe he wants to be back in his home state, be on the only NBA team in his home state. I don't know. But yeah, like you said, either way, if they sign Colin Sexton back, Karis LeVert's an expiring contract next year. Teams love expiring contracts. So, I mean, we said last week, that's why I love that trade so much, because it's not really hurting this year's team whatsoever. And the worst case scenario is an expiring contract next year. But yeah, Colin Sexton, I love the guy. I just don't. He's not. A lot of Cavs fans have said this multiple times. If the Cavs are legitimate, Colin Sexton is not in the starting lineup, and I totally believe that. He is a great 6-man, but I think that's what they need right now is like a go-to guy off the bench. Karis LeVert will hopefully be that guy. Kevin Love can be that guy, but it's hard for a power forward to be that guy off the bench, like go create your own shot type of guy. Yeah. I don't think Colin Sexton's I can't talk. I don't think Colin Sexton's going to be back this season. I know some people are hoping that, but this offseason will be interesting for him, especially as a restricted free agent.
Yeah, as a newly signed Clutch, client, it's going to be really interesting to see how much money he gets, because the injury gets big. I mean, some guys that have that injury, they don't have the same bounce again. Colin's young enough, and his work ethic is just nasty by all reports. I mean, he outworks pretty much everyone. So I'm expecting him to come back and really pick up pretty close to where he left off. So, yeah, it would be tough to see him go, but like you said early on, JB and Kobe, full faith. Whatever they end up deciding, how Karis fits in the next 25, 30 games and then into the playoffs is going maybe a big indicator for what happens with Colin.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, Karis is a great insurance policy, because if Colin doesn't come back, you have Karis to lead the second unit. So, yeah. And like we both said, whatever Kobe and JB do, whatever they think is right, I also think is right.
They've earned that. Yep. They've definitely earned that. All right. So if we go down to question 2, this is from Sean. Any discussion of buyout players that the Cavaliers may go after? So anyone, Josh, you're interested in from a buyout perspective the Cavaliers could pick up?
I would love Goran Dragic. He just got traded and then waived by the Spurs. I think it was the Spurs. He would be a great. I mean, Rondo. He has spurts of a very good backup point guard, and then he has spurts of like, wow, this guy cannot be on the court in an NBA basketball game. He's just way too inconsistent for me. I know the other night he did great, but like he's just way too inconsistent. I would love a guy like Goran Dragic. Yes, he would be like PG2, PG3 with Rondo, but like if Rondo's having an off night, just put in Dragic, and he's a veteran point guard that will ease the burden off Darius Garland, like we have continued to say. Playoff time, that's going to mean even more to ease the burden off of him. I just don't think that. I think, well, put it this way, I think Dallas or like, I don't know, a team that will offer him more and be a legitimate contender. I know the Cavs, some people will say they're legitimate contenders, but they're super young. If they win if they win the one series in the NBA playoffs, I'll be ecstatic. So maybe he'll want to go to like a legitimate contender. I know Milwaukee is looking for a backup point guard behind Drew Holiday. Maybe he'll go to Milwaukee. Besides Dragic, though, I don't, without having like a list of names in front of me, I honestly don't really know. But what I do know, March 1st is the deadline. So 13 days from now, March 2nd to Wednesday. So March 1st is a Tuesday. So 13 days from now, the player must be on the roster to play in the postseason. So the buyout market should, I mean, not much has really happened since the trade deadline ended, but in the next 13 days, look for a lot to happen. Not a lot, but like quite a bit to happen. And maybe the Cavs. I mean, I know Pangos, I know we talked about this last Thursday when we did this podcast. There was a report out that he was going to Moscow, and now he's still on the Cavs roster. So I don't know if he is going. I don't know if the Cavs are at 15 guys right now. So if they want to sign a player from the buyout market, they would have to release someone. I'm assuming it would be Pangos. I don't really know the numbers, like the salary numbers behind that, but they have like $3.3 million to spend, which buyout guy, he will probably look for like close to the veterans minimum for the rest of the season. That won't be $3.3 million. So yeah, I guess I'm not really offering much for the question in my answer besides Dragic, but I would look for them to get another point guard or another 3-point shooter. But I think they'll go more of a backup point guard over a 3-point shooter or both.
Yeah. I think there's so many teams within that play-in area. I think it's going to be extremely busy. I think there's going to be a lot of roster turnover with buyouts. There's a lot of guys who are going to want to join a contender on the cheap. There's a couple guys that I have, and they're all very different trait-wise. But as you said, I mean, Kevin Pangos isn't going to give you anything. I think the pecking order for point guard is obviously Darius, Rajon Rondo, Brandon Goodwin. So
before you go on, though, Brandon Goodwin's on a 2-way contract. So for him to be playoff eligible, he would have to be converted to an NBA contract, which would mean that Pangos would have to be released too. So if they want Goodwin to be playoff eligible, they would have to release Pangos. And then if they want to sign a buyout guy, they'd have to release someone else, which I don't know. I don't know all the numbers, but if they want Goodwin and another buyout guy, they would have to waive 2 players. But continue, Seth.
Yeah, you're right. They got to get rid of more than just Pangos, and Pangos is obviously the number one candidate to head back to Europe. That was the first guy I listed was Dragic. So you and I keep nailing the same exact answers, question over question, week over week here. But he's obviously older. He's been in the league since 2008, but he can still score. The last couple of years, he still has scoring averages up in the 13, 14, 15. And on those Heat teams, he had a hard time staying healthy, but man, he was effective. I remember in the bubble, and I mean, he still can move. So it's been kind of weird. He didn't really play at all with the Raptors, got bought out, but he's still been working out. He looks pretty good from the highlight tapes we can see. And I think he would probably be an upgrade over Rondo. The problem at this point is probably the amount of games they have left. So the All-Star break is so late into the season. If I look at the Cavs record, they're 35-23. So they've played 58 games. So they only have 20-some games left. So bringing in a guy who's going to have to orchestrate the second unit, it might be a lot to ask. But I think he probably represents a significant enough upgrade over Rondo that I would seriously consider trying to bring him in. The other two I'll just give real quick. Robin Lopez. So he does like nothing for me in terms of actual playing, but if the Cavaliers have a matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, the last thing I'd want is Jared Allen to get into early foul trouble. So I think they could just use one more guy just for fouls, one more big dude.
And they need one more Afro at center. Yeah. The Afro tradition.
Robin and Allen. What a duo. Ooh, Robin and Allen. That sounds good. So Robin Lopez, he could bring his like WWE antics that he's got going on. But the Cavaliers played the Magic earlier this year. He still has a little bit of a hook shot to him, but he can bang. Like he was giving Allen some problems. He's still a big physical guy. So I think, again, I'm not enamored by his play by any means, but what he can give is a couple of hard fouls and maybe guard a big guy that's given Jared some foul problems for 5 to 7 minutes if needed. Then the last guy, just really quick, Gary Harris. We've talked about him. I mean, he's a decent wing option. I'm not saying he would play a bunch, but if LeVert were to get injured or Osman, I think he's a guy who could make like your top 9-ish rotation in the playoffs if you absolutely need him. So he might just be another guy. He can shoot the three at times. He's a little streaky, but he can play defense. He can rebound a little bit. I think he'd be a good kind of buy low option. And he's currently on Orlando, so I'm sure he wants to play for a contender for the rest of the year.
Man, Orlando is like what the Cavs used to be in non-LeBron years, which is just like, when are you guys ever going to be good? But speaking of, I Googled buyout candidates. You brought up Gary Harris. Jeremy Lamb is also one. He's with Sacramento right now. He was with the Pacers, it seemed like, for a while. He's more of like a 2-guard. I would be fine with him off the bench. Eric Bledsoe, that doesn't move the ticker for me. He's on Portland. Kent Bazemore, which I didn't know that he was even a buyout candidate, but he's with the Lakers right now. I guess he's out of their rotation. I think I would take him as like a Wayne. I mean, he's more of like a defensive guy, but I think he has without looking up his stats, I think he's a decent 3-point shooter. I would take him. And then, the guy that the Cavs were possibly looking to add at the trade deadline, Dennis Schroeder, who was traded to the Rockets in a very strange trade at the deadline. He is most likely going to be bought out, but it looks as though he might go back to the Lakers, who he was with last year. But then again, I mean, if you want to be with a contender, but maybe he sees playing with Russell Westbrook, he's going to get more minutes. But I would take Dennis Schroeder. You said Gary Harris, Robin Lopez. Although the Cavs don't really have like a legitimate backup center, but I don't know if he would be worth a roster spot, since you'd have to release a second guy if you want to bring up Brandon Goodwin. But yeah, I'm Schroeder, Dragic, Bazemore, I guess, and Gary Harris. I'm any of those 4 guys, I'm fine with it. But yeah, like I said, I can say this with every one of these. Whatever Kobe and JB want to do, I trust them.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. All right. So then we kind of transitioned to the tactical stuff. So we started off more big picture, talking about, what they're going to do with Sexton, and what they might do coming up on the buyout market. And then the next 2 questions we got from Ryan and Nick are more tactical kind of play style questions. I thought I maybe want to hold them for last. So Ryan asked, what's your concern level for the playoffs now that the teams have more tape on the Cavaliers and are taking them more seriously as a top team in the Eastern Conference? So what's your concern level for the playoffs now that teams seem to have more tape on how the Cavaliers operate?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to? Because I already have my answer, but I was wondering if you want to go first or not with this.
No, please take it. Please take it.
0 concern level. I think we talked about this last 2 weeks. Coming into this year, 26.5 wins over under. They were supposed to be at like the bottom 3 team in the NBA. The fact that they are, if they don't get into the playoffs now, it would be a major disappointment. I'd feel like it'd probably be like a catastrophic injury for them not to get in. So yeah, I'm going to be happy with whatever happens in the playoffs. If they get in, it's only experience for such a young team, which is what they need badly. They need playoff experience. They need to feel a 7-game series, not a 7-game series, but just a playoff series where you're playing the same team at least 4 times in a row. And yeah, I'm 0. I'm not worried, and my concern level is at 0 out of 10 out of 100, just because this Cavs team has exceeded expectations so much that as long as they get to the playoffs and get that experience, I think next year, maybe the following year, will be the year, quote unquote. And yeah, I just want them to get to the playoffs, and whatever happens from there. I mean, if they win a first round series after being a projected bottom 3 team in the NBA, they've taken the NBA by storm already. But if you're one of the final, what would that be? Final 8 teams in the postseason? Give me all of that. I don't care who they play in the first round. I think we talked about this last week. I don't want to play like Milwaukee maybe in the first round, or Joel Embiid. We can talk about that. We have a couple months to talk about this. I'm scared of Joel Embiid, but them getting James Harden, I feel like is only going to make Joel Embiid worse, and that's just not going to be a good marriage for those two. But yeah, we'll talk about the playoff matchups in the future. But yeah, my concern level, 0. because the Cavs have already exceeded expectations, and as long as they get to the playoffs, it's only good experience.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I wrote. So I guess you could think about this question.
Damn it.
Yeah.
We keep saying the same answers. I promise we didn't talk about this beforehand.
Every time. I'm just going to start lying to the listeners. I'm going to start just making something up on the spot. So I try to take my little notes and be diligent here, and I keep matching you. But yeah,
I take no notes, so it's not like me and Seth share notes either.
I guess if you wanted to split the question out, if you wanted to layer it, like, do you have concern this year based on the Cavs looking like a top 3 or 4 team? Then sure. You could argue that after Rubio went down, the team has not looked the same. Offense has been clunkier. Defense is maybe taking a step back too. So I do think that there's a blueprint around the Cavaliers right now. If I were playing them, it would be throw a big guard or wing on Darius, try to make him give up the ball, and then have Osman beat you, or even have Love beat you, or LeVert. I think that's the blueprint, and I think that'll probably be what the Cavaliers will see come playoff time. But in terms of big picture and exactly where I think you're at, it's just get in. Just get in. Even if they go like 0-4, 1-4, have the playoff experience, get your butt kicked. That's okay. I want a hungry Mobley this offseason, a hungry Jared Allen, a hungry Darius. They've gotten some of these accolades, so they should start getting the respect, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to see them, kind of get their butts kicked and realize, okay, this is what it takes to get to that next level. Because we've said it numerous weeks now, it's a whole different level, and they're not going to know until they experience it. That's just how life goes.
Yeah, and I mean, Kevin Love can tell them all. I mean, obviously Kevin Love has plenty of playoff experience. He can tell them all about how to be prepared, how to play how different it is to play in the playoffs because you play the same team so many times in a row. How it's like a grinded out defense matters, and defense matters all the time, but the game slows down. A lot more defense being played. Kevin Love can say all that, but until these guys, the Darius Garlands, the Isaac Okoros, the Jared Allens, they actually play in a playoff game. I mean, words only have so much. They need to experience it for themselves, which is, I mean, even if they lose the first round, even if they get swept, which I don't think they will, no matter who they play, I don't think they'll get swept. But that's, like you said, it's just to make them hungrier and want. I mean, if they had a lot of motivation prior to this year, when they've been so bad since LeBron left 3 years ago, imagine the type of motivation they're going to have this offseason, where they can see how good they can be, and they want more of that.
Because the talent is undeniable. You can't say this team doesn't have enough talent to win now. Now it's just about gelling, getting better, getting those reps, playing. So yeah, you're 100% right. They know how good they can be. They had some help with an awesome backup point guard, Ricky Rubio, who's better than a lot of starters, but they know how good they can be now. So yeah, really they just need those reps, and I can't wait. Thinking about a first round home playoff series, whether they're hosting or not, obviously they're going to get at least 2 games. It's going to be electric, and it's all homegrown young guys coming together. I'm so excited.
And not to hate on the MLB, but if the MLB is in a lockout still, I mean, that's to be the only thing in Cleveland in April. So, I mean, like you said, that atmosphere, I miss playoff basketball in Cleveland. I really do. And I don't care who it's against. I think we're still on the same concern level question, aren't we? I'm zero concern. I just want all the playoff experience. The more playoff games the Cavs can get this year, the better. Put it that way.
Yep. And let's see Lowry back too, because he makes a big difference. If you look at the net rating of Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, I think Carter Rodriguez shared that net rating goes up by like 8 points when Lowry plays with those guys. It's spacing. I mean, it's all about spacing. So get Lowry back. I think the offense is going to look a little bit different, and the defense will look a little different too. So
before we move on though, yeah, Lowry, without Lowry Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and Ricky Rubio, the Cavs are literally without 3 of their top 7 players coming into the year, and they're still a top 4 seed in the league. It's just like crazy JB Bickerstaff has to be the favorite for coach of the year. Kobe Altman has to be the favorite for executive of the year. It's crazy, like the team that they have brought together, and like the Kevin Love story. I can't wait for someone to do like a behind the scenes of how it went from like buyout to like 6 man of the year candidate. it's beyond crazy to me. But just the Cavs without so many players and the fact that they're still a top 4 seed, I think they're still a top 4 seed in the East, even though they lost 2 straight. It's just, I mean, injuries or not, I know it's next man up, but there's only so many injuries a 15-man roster can take in the NBA. That's why I'm like, imagine if this team was fully healthy. Imagine how good they'd be.
Yeah, you'd have to assume they'd be, 1 or 2 at worst. And not a lot of teams. So obviously, the beginning of the season, the Cavs got fortunate at times with COVID, so they didn't get the COVID bug yet, and they were beating up on some teams that have COVID. But for the most part, I'd say a lot of the contending teams outside of maybe Chicago in the East, a lot of the guys are really healthy. I mean, Celtics have everyone healthy. Raptors have everyone healthy for the most part. Philly, obviously outside of Ben not playing, has been pretty healthy. The Bucks are pretty healthy. So the Cavaliers, I would say, are definitely one of the most beat up in terms of key, true, like you said, top 7 players that haven't played. So yeah, next year, just, I got to temper expectations because I'm after seeing this season and the guys they have coming back, I'm going to be thinking some dangerous stuff I shouldn't be saying on this. So
let's just hope it's not like the Browns where we think the expectations are very high and then it turns into we won't even talk about it. This is the Cavs podcast. But on to the next mailbag question before I go down a Browns bad hole.
Yeah. This will wrap it up too. So number 4. So Nick asked, what is the cause for the slow starts as of late? And I'll go back to a point that we talked about early on. So the Pacers win. The Cavs went down 47-28 in the first quarter. And then against the 76ers, a 103-93 loss. The Cavaliers went down 36-23. You said it earlier. The Cavs were one of the best teams against the spread in the first quarter. So Nick's question, what do we think the cause is for the slow starts as of late?
Wanting the NBA All-Star break would be the easy way to answer this. But I mean, we talked about this earlier too. Evan Mobley has hit a rookie wall. He needs this 6 to 7. I think it's like 6 days off full. I don't know. I think they play the 24th next, so I don't even know what today's date is. This is 6. Oh, so it's like 8 days off because they played last night. Evan Mobley needs this break badly. I mean, it's been very evident offensively. He's been great defensively, but very so offensively, I guess. And just like this team has been very unenergetic early on. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they've struggled because, well, it's been very clear that they've struggled defensively. And before this last 2 or 3 game stretch, they were number 1 in points allowed in the NBA, which is beyond amazing to me, with how much the defense has struggled over the years. But yeah, this, whether it's like wanting the All-Star break or just like needing just the time off just to gain some energy back and gain their legs back. Maybe getting Lowry back is going to be huge because it's another 7-footer in that 3-man Tower City lineup. I think it's just like I said, they've just really need this break and they really need to just gain their legs and their energy back. And maybe they're looking forward to this break, and it's one of those things where like when you're looking forward to something, it's trap game. I was trying to think of a word. A trap game. It's used a lot in college football and basketball. Maybe these last couple of games have been trap games because the Cavs are looking forward to the All-Star break so much.
Yeah, early on in the season, it wasn't hard to project what the Cavaliers were going to do night by night. They were playing harder than everyone else. They looked fresher. They looked like they wanted it a lot more than everyone else. And that happened all the way through till January, really. I mean, they were playing consistently harder than everyone every single night. And the last, call it couple weeks, it's been hit or miss. And that's just to be expected. Like you said, Mobley played, 30 games last year? And now he's played 58 in probably like half the time. So, yeah, I think it's guys being tired. I think they've given up a lot of points in the paint as of late. And a lot of that appears to me, I'm not the biggest tape guy, but a lot of it appears to me to be just getting beat kind of one-on-one. And then like Allen or Mobley are trying to come in late and, they're getting scored on, or it's an easy pass to the next guy who's, rotating in. So, yeah, I think one-on-one defense is taking a step back. Early on, Okoro had a hit list they played like 4 elite point guards in a row, and each one he held to under 30%. And if you just look at what Trae Young did last night, right? He almost got 40, and a lot of it was on Okoro. So yeah, I think individual defense. I think you're right. Tired legs, and yeah, I think they just need a break. I'm not too concerned. I am very interested to see hopefully Lowry come back healthy, give Karras a few extra days to live in the playbook, kind of get used to this team, and I think it'll be good to evaluate this team. As you referenced earlier, there's a pretty big key stretch coming up. The Cavs should be as healthy as they're going to be for the stretch season, so I think it'll be a great time to evaluate their playoff hopes and chances throughout that stretch. I think that starts in March, right?
March 2nd. I know Ken Carmen and Anthony Lyman were talking about earlier on their show. March 2nd it starts. I'm going to the game, so I know March 2nd is against the Charlotte Hornets, but I think 7 of the 9 games are against like top 4 teams, and whether it's the East or the West. Philadelphia's one. Denver, I don't know if they're top 4, but they're a very good team. I don't know the exact schedule, but I know it's a very tough 9-game stretch. So hopefully they can just like stay afloat. 5-4, 4-5. I mean, that March 2nd seems like it's a few weeks off, but it's literally going to be here before we know it once this All-Star break's over. So yeah, that's going to be a true test for this team. I'm assuming Lowry is going to be back by then. Hopefully everyone else will be healthy and have fresher legs after the break. And yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to a previous question too about tape and stuff, or expectations and all that. The Cavs are no longer a team that teams are taking other opponents are taking lightly. The Cavs kind of have, I wouldn't say they have a target on their back, but teams now know that they are a legitimate playoff contender. So, like I said, no one's going to take them lightly. Maybe that's part of the reason why they're struggling too. And then again, it's just injuries like we've discussed many times already. So yeah, the second half of the season, it's not really a second. I hate how they call it the first half of the second half, because like you said earlier, the Cavs are already like 58 games into the season, so it's way beyond first half. But yeah, hopefully after the All-Star break, the Cavs have fresher legs, realize that they have a target on their back now because teams know that they're good, and just take care of business. Even I don't know the exact math. So what's the record? 35-23? Is that it?
35-23. Yep.
So even if they go 12-12, they're still going to be 47-35. I will take 12-12. I would love for them to win 50 games because that'd be one heck of a story. But think about that. If they go 500 after the All-Star break, they're still 47-35. And that will still probably put them in like the 5th or 6th seed range.
Yeah, just exceeding their over-under total by 20 games. No big deal.
And that's going 500 the rest of the way, too.
Right.
I mean, that's they still, I just looked it up. They still have like the 24th toughest schedule out of 30 teams. So there's that 9-game stretch starting March 2nd is going to be tough. But I mean, besides those few games in between that 9 games between there, they're going to have some really easy, well, not really easy because it's the NBA, but they're still going to have plenty of easy games where if they just take care of business, they should, I mean, if they want to win, if they want to win 50, they have to go 15-9 the rest of the way. If they get Lowry back, I think it's possible as long as they take care of business against the team that they should beat. It's beyond amazing to me that they can win 50 games and go 15-9 and win 50 after being projected at 27 wins to start the year. Unbelievable to me.
Yeah, that 15-9 is not outside the realm if they get back and healthy. I'm looking at the standings right now. The one thing that really sticks out is Toronto has won 8 of their last 10, and Boston has won 9 of their last 10. So currently Boston's number 6, so they would avoid the play-in, and they have a 1.5 game lead against Toronto, who's number 7, who would have to play, I believe, the Hawks then in the play-in tournament. So that's the big thing I'm looking at, honestly, is as long as the Cavaliers stay above that number 6 seed, equal to or above that 6 seed, that's really where I'm excited. I guess I'll take like a play-in opportunity, but they've played so well that that's the position I'm really looking at. So if Boston could just chill out and Toronto could just calm down a little bit, that would be nice.
2 things on that. One, I know we discussed this last week. those 5 starters in Toronto have to get tired at some point. They have the top 3 guys are the top 3 minutes played average per game in the NBA. And I think all 5 starters are top 23 or top 24 or something. All-Star break or not, those legs have to be getting tired as the season wears on. But then again, their 5 starters are really good. So I guess that's why they play so much. Boston scares me a bit. I know they just dominated Philadelphia last night by like 40 or something. They were good with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And now they got Derek White at the deadline from San Antonio. That is a perfect fit for them. So yeah, that. And then again, we can, like I said earlier, talk about playoff matchups later on. But I think Boston's going to be a team that rises up the standings in the final 24 games. And as I'm looking at the standings, the Cavs are currently 2.5 games behind first, but they are like 3 games ahead of the play-in. And like you said, just avoid the play-in. I don't care what seed you get, just don't be in the play-in game. Although that would be some fun, entertaining basketball, though, I must admit.
There's some danger looking in that play-in tournament, right? Like if Brooklyn gets somewhat of a healthy Ben and then Durant comes back, I don't want to play that team in the play-in tournament. Toronto, could be spicy, and let's avoid that play-in tournament. I think that's my goal right now. Stay within the top 6, get that playoff experience. Not interested in seeing the play-in.
All right, yeah, I do not. It will be fun, entertaining basketball. Don't want to be part of the play-in. But looking ahead at the schedule, I know we've been talking about the upcoming schedule. The 3 games after the All-Star break, at Detroit versus Washington versus Minnesota. You have to win 2 out of 3 of those. Minnesota's tough. Washington's without Bradley Beal, and now they're without Spencer Dinwiddie as well, who got traded. At Detroit, you just have to take care of business against one of the worst teams in the NBA. March 2nd, which is that key date that we've been saying, that tough 9-game stretch, versus Charlotte, at Philadelphia, versus Toronto, at Indiana, at Miami, at Chicago, versus the Clippers, versus Philadelphia, versus Denver. I think that's more than 9 games. But besides at Indiana, the Cavs might only be favored in like 2 out of those 9 games. So versus the Clippers too, they'll be favored. But that's legitimately 7 playoff teams. I don't know if Charlotte's currently in the playoffs, but Charlotte is a very good team with LaMelo Ball and Mikal Bridges. And no, not Mikal Bridges. What's the bridge? The Mikal Bridges is in Phoenix. I can't think of the Bridges in.
Miles, right?
Miles Bridges, yes. So yeah, 8 of those games are very tough. Hopefully, at Indiana can be considered an easy win. Hopefully, the Cavs don't go down 21 this time. But go 2-1 in those 3 games after the break, and then hopefully just survive that 9-game stretch. And if you say those first 12 games after the break go 7-5, I am perfectly fine with them going 7-5 in that stretch.
Yeah, that's a true measuring stick. That's where I think I'm going to really take a lot of valuable insight in those games, see how they project against the Heat, Philadelphia, even Charlotte, who's pretty feisty. So yeah, that's going to be the true test, and just got to hope, like you said, 5-4 is pretty damn good. 6-3 would be ecstatic. This is, I don't want to sound doomy, but this is not the team from back in December that was blowing teams out. This is a different team now. So yeah, 5-4, 6-3, just stay within those top 4 or 5 seeds. That would be an excellent stretch.
If they go 4-5, I'll be happy. If they go 5-4, I'll be more than happy. If they go 6-3, my goodness, in that 9-game stretch, if they go 6-3, I'd love it. And we can talk about this next week because we'll be back here with another Cavs Weekly podcast. Boring name. Next week, talk upcoming schedule, talk recap the NBA All-Star Weekend. Hopefully, it's a good one for not only Cleveland but for the Cavs as well. And I like how before this podcast we said that we wouldn't talk for an hour, and now we've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes, and this is the longest podcast we've had yet.
Probably least amount of relevant play content. The Cavaliers only had 3 games, and they kind of stunk. But yeah, we filled it up. That's just, I guess that's our thing now. We can just keep rolling.
It is so easy to talk Cavs and NBA. It's as simple as that, I guess. But with that, Seth, anything else before NBA All-Star Weekend?
No, like you said, I hope everyone has a great time. Be safe, have fun at the events. It looks awesome downtown. There's been some pictures and videos. I think it's going to be a really good time. Dress warm, and yeah, let's see the Cavaliers take home some trophies.
Cavs take home some trophies. Hopefully, some positive things said about Cleveland, whether it's national or local. Well, local is obviously going to be positive. National, I'm sure they're going to try their best to hate on Cleveland. It is what it is. Don't let it get to you, Cleveland. Especially Cleveland. I'll put all of Cleveland in a Twitter circle. Cleveland Twitter. Please don't let anything national get to you. Please. It's bound to happen. It is what it is. Just enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the events. Hopefully, if you live close to downtown, go just be part of it, even if you're not going to the game. I know tickets are expensive both Saturday and Sunday night. Just like go. This is the only time the NBA All-Star games will be here probably for the next couple of decades. I mean, the last one was late 90s. So it's probably like every 20, 25 years. Yeah, so just go enjoy it, be part of it, and just be safe and go Cavs.
Go Cavs.